They said, yeah. We don't need so many rules and regulations. So actually, bureaucrats are the best who know how to simplify the things. And you have to make them to do that job, because nobody else can do it better. It's just the way you structure that, you impose the rules and regulation that can work the best. So these are the kind of smart regulations that I think made a really mindset change inside of the government, mindset change inside of the society. This type of smart regulations gave us new opportunities and kind of got rid of all the different obstacles that the private sector had. I mean, for example, if you wanted to start business, in the past you had to go to 9 different agencies. From courts, statistics department, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice, and don't know what else. Right now, all you do is you go to a registrar, public service hall, you give your passport, and you say the name of the company, and they ask you in which bank would you like to open your account. That's how service-oriented these things have become. And in 20 minutes, you have a company with your banking account, and that's it. I mean, how do you change bureaucrats from I'm your boss to customer is always right mentality? That was the challenge, and I think we did it in Georgia. And I think if we did it in Georgia, it can be done anywhere else in the world. And actually, one more, please go back. Yeah, one more regulation that I want to mention before going to some other parts is we call it piggybacking. It was a very interesting part, a situation where we had a very difficult approval system of importing medicines into the country. So we had a laboratory, any medicine had to go through laboratory checkup and so on and so on. It was so difficult that only 2 companies could do it. Of course, with a special arrangements, nobody else could get any license to import the pharmaceutical products in the country. But then we realized that Europeans like their population just as much as we do. And Europeans care about the health of their population just as much as we do. And they have much better resources, much better laboratories, and much better knowledge. So why don't we piggybacking on their procedures? And we said, whatever is allowed in EU and United States is automatically allowed in Georgia. That's it. Guess what happened? Right now, there are more than 6 or 7 importers. Instead of 2, there are up to 10 importers of medicaments in Georgia, and prices went down by in some cases 15%, some cases 25%. So this maybe, I guess that's one of the most important parts of business environment in Georgia. And what I've told you is all part of fighting corruption. Actually, simplification was the main tool for us to fight corruption, including tax code, including customs code, including everything. And that's not an accident why we decreased number of taxes from 21 to 6, because we just decided to make it as simple as possible. To try to take out all double interpretations from the tax code, and that gave us a huge benefit. But there is other side of it, and I call it carrot and stick formula. You cannot have public servants hanging out with a salary of $10 per month or $15 per month. It's impossible. In Georgia, that's what we had. And that was a moral argument for this employee to take bribes. Every morning he could stand in front of the mirror and say that government is paying me so little that I won't be able to survive my family with that money. So in order for me to survive my family, I have to get bribed. And there was a consensus in society that there is a moral argument for this guy to be a corrupt person. So on the other hand, you have to give salaries to public servants. We decreased significantly. Thank you. We decreased the number of public servants significantly, but whoever was left was given quite good salaries and, very importantly, performance-based bonuses. And I'll be talking about it later. This is the key of success of not only private sector, but also of public sector, performance-based bonuses. We actually did it for almost everybody, by the way, including ministers. Performance-based bonuses. We had, when I was prime minister, for every minister, I had key achievables, quarterly achievables, quantifiable achievables. For Minister of Energy, electricity was, for example, it was number of kilowatt hours exported. For somebody else was, for Ministry of Education, it was PISA results. For somebody else, it was very simple, key achievables, quantifiable achievables for the ministries. Plus, all of them had one single big point, which was GDP growth. Back then, it was very important for us to have a GDP growth, so the whole ministers were working as a team at the same time. They had their own achievables, but at the same time, they were working as a team. Other countries can have unemployment rate, other countries can have diversification from oil rate or so on and so on as a overarching objective for the whole government. In our case, we had GDP growth. So this stick and carrot was very, very important. On one hand, giving good salaries, but on the other hand, we would make sure that criminal charges were pressed against anybody who would go for corrupt cases. Without this, it's impossible. And we had to do many painful reforms. And believe me, here I'm not advising anybody to do and copy all those reforms that I'm talking about. I'm just saying that this is the story that we have lived through, and this is the success story that we have, and you may possibly have very similar success story. We had to fire a lot of people. I personally have fired, I don't know how many people in the energy sector when we started. For example, we fired every single traffic policeman in Georgia in one day, and traffic was much better. I am being very honest here. I'm not advising, one more time I would like to underline, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not saying that it's fine to do that. But in our case, it was so bad. It was so bad that population was actually cheering when they heard that every single traffic policeman was fired. 3 months, no traffic policeman, no accidents increased, no nothing, no problems. Right now, we have much better traffic police with different agenda, absolutely. So, in terms of when I said, can I have next slide, please? When I said about doing business reforms, I just want to show you one slide, and this is slide comparing Nigeria to Georgia in 4 parameters. I mean, if you decide today to start a business, how long, according to the World Bank, by the way, these are not my figures, according to the World Bank, if you don't pay bribe to anybody, most likely, how many days it will take you to start a business, to get a construction permit, if you want to construct a small warehouse just outside of Lagos, that's how it's, by the way, measured. If you want to get electricity connection, and if you want to get registration of your property. And these are the number of days which are compared. And by the way, Georgia was very close to these figures. Number of days, for example, to start a business in Nigeria is 28. In Georgia is 2. To get a construction permit in Nigeria, it's 116 days. You need to get a construction permit, and you have to have 8 different procedures. In Georgia, it's 68 days, and 17 different procedures in Nigeria, 8 procedures in Georgia. In order for you to get an electricity, you need 260 days. That's to get electricity to your small warehouse. In Georgia, it's 71 days. And to register a property, in Nigeria, you need 13 different transactions and papers. In Georgia, you need only 1. And you need 77 days in Nigeria. In Georgia, you need only 1. 1 day. We are the top of the world in that, by the way, in this parameter. So if you decide to start a warehouse business in Lagos now, it will take you 1 year and 4 months to get the papers. and to get the electricity to your place. I'm not talking about plus construction of this place. Most likely take you much longer. That's how World Bank calculates it. In Georgia, it's 3 to 4 months. So imagine what are the efficiency problems of the business environment and how much it can be improved. What are the possibilities of this country to go forward much faster? Another topic that I would like to mention is in the beginning I said it's a business environment, it's public services. As I've mentioned a couple of examples, we did many public service reforms, and I think one of them tops them all, and this is public service hall. It's one place where more than 300 government services are given to public. Almost any service that you can think of can be obtained there. Registering property, getting a passport, getting an ID, registering marriage, you name it. Almost anything that a citizen or a business, starting a business, everything can be done in one place. It's a front office of the government. Of course, the actual work is done in the back offices, and the actual passport is printed by Ministry of Justice, but the interaction with the customer is there. And special unit is created, which is service-oriented unit, which actually has created totally different environment in Georgia. It was one of the most popular reforms that we did, and this is something that I would advise any government to do. By the way, also the biggest opposition we received was from our own ministers, because the ministers thought that they would lose their front offices, they would lose their powers. It's not right. In the end, everybody was happy, but we had a huge internal struggle in order to continue to finish with that. Just to finalize my presentation, just one more slide. It's public finances. And it's public finances because I think we made a significant quantum leap in public finances as well. We had the 25% of capital expenditure in our budget, which is a huge number, which was one of the drivers of the economy. We had a one budget principle, which means that there was no earmarking of any expenditure of any income in the budget, and we had created special formulas, special motivation formulas. And one example that I want to bring here is education. And education, in the past, we were giving the money to all schools, and schools directors would decide how they would spend it. We made a change, we gave money to students, so schools started to compete against each other. We started giving new bonuses to directors based on university exams. The worst directors would get fired, the best directors would get bonuses. So this type of motivational financial schemes of the public finance actually created a new Georgia and a new economic drive of the country. So, just to finish my presentation, there are three things that I would like to underline. Great reformers always outperform others. Every situation is different, but DNA is very similar. Best reforms are if they are radical, if they are deep, and if they are fast. The last time I made similar presentation to a head of quite a big country, he asked me, so how big is your country? I said, well, it's not a big country. So it will not work in our country. No, I said, you tell me one reason why any of these reforms will not work. So why not? You tell me the reasons why these reforms cannot work in Nigeria. It's a big country, much bigger than my country, but believe me, these reforms can be successful in most of the countries. Thank you very much.